Keyboard Basics, the newest scams, and how to disable AI. And Martin also had a question about Microsoft Copilot.
Yeah.
The newest scams. So let me get recording. There we go. All right, we are actually live streaming, so you'll get the recording later. So Martin, tell me, what is your question? What do you want to know about AI?
Well, the Copilot appears on my phone, and you've covered it before, but it kind of went past me. And I've been on it, fooling around with it. It looks like an in-depth search engine. In other words, that's what's happening, I think. And that's about it, as far as I'm concerned. It appeared on my phone automatically once. So I do use it, but I don't use it that often because my normal Google searches give me enough information of what I'm looking for anyway. So does everybody have that app on their phone? Did it appear automatically or?
It all depends on your device. So,
Uh,
Google phone, and so it's a different program, a different product, but the same animal,
okay.
basically.
All right.
Um, what's happening on Apple phones in terms of automatic AI stuff? What do you all have? Medina
Um,
or Linda?
I
You
don't
leaned
remember.
in like you were going to talk, so
No, I don't remember the name.
I don't know.
Linda?
Well, yesterday I called Siri for something a couple of times. I don't do that very often. And it answered with AI information. It said, prints it out, it says AI. I
Yeah,
haven't been clicking on the chat bots and all of that. I'm with you, Martin. I'm not exactly sure what to click on and what not to. But
Yeah.
there's a lot of controversy about AI these days. People liking it, people not liking it
Well,
on
wait a
the
second.
big picture.
Isn't Siri AI?
No. Well, it must be because that's the way she answered.
They answer all your questions. What, whoever it is, answers your questions.
So
I have a he, and sometimes it says, should I use chat? Should I use the AI? And if you say no, then it'll say Google says, or something like that. You have a choice on many of them. But what I've been noticing is on my emails, I get a summary. I don't ask for it or get an AI summary of what Betsy said last week.
I think it's
I
time to
got it
storm the
online.
castle. I'm like so over my choices being taken away. I'm not happy about this. Terry, you had your hand up. Hey, Lou.
On like a Safari, you just go into search on phone. It sometimes on the bottom has the thing asking, do you want an AI search? And I have to say, yesterday I could not figure out something at all. How something was working, how something on my stove was working. And the AI answered and told me what to do. It was a button you had to hold down for 10 seconds. I've had the stove for 10 years. I never knew that. It got turned off. So that was interesting. I don't know what Google would have given me as the answer, but that was very interesting because I just thought I was at my wit's end trying to figure it out. Also,
Okay. Linda? Oh, sorry.
I was right. It gives you the choice when you open up almost any search.
So I'm wondering, truth be told, we've been using Google for questions for a long time. Is there any difference between that and AI?
There is. Yeah. Medina?
Okay, I just looked it up. What AI tool is used with Apple? It's called Apple Intelligence.
Oh, I thought it was
AI for the rest of us. Apple Intelligence, built into your iPhone, iPad, Mac, and Apple Vision Pro.
Interesting. Okay, so really good information. I have Scott's iPad here, so as you were speaking, I went ahead and just did a search to see what the iPad would come up with. And it came up with looks just like mine. So I used his Safari and know that I'm not sure for how long, but I would say at least a year. Safari has been using Google for its searches. I don't know how long the business relationship has been in place, but Safari, while it looks like a search engine, 100% uses Google for its answers. So,
Great.
because when I went to Safari and looked on his iPad, and my question, by the way, was turn off AI. Why not, right? What came up was the AI overview, and it's the exact same AI overview that comes up on my computer when I do a Google search. So let me just share screen a minute here and we'll pull this up so that you can see it's going to look exactly like what I've got on Scott's, and it'll be easier to see. There we go.
Isn't anything, oh shoot. Sorry.
Interesting. Okay, yeah, no, it does look exactly the same. All right. So let me share my screen so you can see when I pulled up now on what you're looking at is through Google's eyes, right? What I'm looking at on Scott's iPad is identical, except that it actually, yeah, it does. So I went to Safari, opened the Safari app on the iPad, got this little tiny thing. This is hockey. Yeah, Google's celebrating the Olympic Games. And so all of their icons are something to do with the games. And this is a hockey puck and a stick. Go hockey. So anyway, so this little icon is also on Scott's iPad. And then this little star here where it says AI overview, this is Google's Gemini, that's the icon for Gemini, which is its AI tool. And then when you scroll down, it starts with you've got a video demonstrates how to turn off AI features in Google Chrome. And that is identical to what I'm seeing on Scott's. When I show more, it's the exact same thing. And I'm searching through Safari. And all of this is the same, how to disable AI features. And we talked about this last week, and I showed you these things last week. I will say when you look at something like this, don't add any extensions at all. Do not add extensions. And you'll see why later. There's a thing about extensions that we were going to talk about today and talking about problems. So there's good news and bad news. When you do the search for how do I turn off stuff, you add a custom search engine, and we talked about those, and I sent you those. Did anybody test those out? Anybody try, play around with them, see if you liked them? I added, oh, and isn't that funny? It's not showing up on my computer as being added. Hang on. Wow. Oh, there it is. Okay. So I'm going to open this up for anybody who wasn't in class last week and then share it. So I downloaded the Ecosia. Can you see this?
Yes.
Ecosia, the simple way to be Claimant Active. So this is one of the ones that was recommended. There were like 3: DuckDuckGo, Stand something, and Standalone, Standby, something. I don't remember what it was, but I figured I'm only going to try one at a time. And the Ecosia browser says is not my default browser, but I can search it. So if I do a search for turn off AI and see how Ecosia solves that. Okay, so notice there is no AI option here. You can see my result, right?
Yeah.
Just
Yes.
want to make sure. So,
Yeah.
so in all of the other ones up at the top here, it's got AI mode, and I'll show you in a minute. But right here, it's where am I looking? I'm looking on the web. And
Yeah.
then same other kinds of searches. I just want to see images, news, videos, maps, so forth. Those are the same, but this does not have the AI mode. And then how to remove AI generated content. This is TextGuard and it's a sponsored ad. So you know me, I don't trust sponsored ads. They paid money to get there in the top of your page. So I'm going to scroll down and look and see what else I can find. Oh, notice, so you see where my page cuts off here. I'm not seeing the whole thing because I've got a cookie notice.
Right.
So let's go ahead and do the cookies for a minute. I'm never going to say accept all because cookies are little crumbs that track you. So this one has very nice. It says reject non-essential. So I'm going to accept that that's what it means, but I can also go to manage cookies. Can you see this little pop-up?
Yes.
Okay. Manage cookie preferences. So analytics, better understand how you use Ecosia. Nope, not interested. Marketing. Nope. Personalization. Nope. Google. Add results from Google. Nope. So it's kind of nice that it automatically says, okay, these are the things that make the program work. You kind of need this. And so, but you have to personally opt in for these other ones, which most of us would opt out of. So I kind of like that style that it says, yep, we're not going to force this on you and make you take action. So I'm going to save those settings. Now notice that the full page is there. And I can look and there's that same video. So clearly I'm going to have to watch this video because it is popping up everywhere. The guy must have been like, yeah, here's what we're going to do. And there's another one, how to turn off Gemini AI. So that's anything in Google and Chrome and YouTube. How can I turn off AI results? This is a Google article, so I would trust that if you're using Google. And we just saw that if we're using Safari, we're using Google. Reddit, how many people are familiar with Reddit and use Reddit?
I would like to know what it is. It's showing up all
Okay.
the time.
Okay, we're gonna go down a rabbit hole for a minute. Good morning, Amy. And Renee and Andy, nice to see you. So Reddit, I like to say if you don't know, and I'm sorry, this is not derogatory in any way, shape, or form. I do not have a Reddit account. If you don't know what Reddit is, you just showed your age. Sorry.
Thanks,
Red-
Betsy.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Good morning. Happy coffee time. So Reddit is a message board. It's a very plain and simple kind of message board that every young person I know has it, does it, uses it. It's how they get information. Now, that being said, I'm super suspicious of information that I just get off the street, so to speak. But I know people who swear by it and do zero, young people, my future son-in-law, zero social media, 100% Reddit. So his online community is Reddit. He doesn't, I think he had an Instagram account for a little while that was work related, but that was about it. But he is on Reddit all the time. Scott joined Reddit, my husband, and if you can look at it, what I like, you couldn't used to look at it. Now you can look at it without joining. And so I dip my toes into Reddit to see, is this true? Does this feel right? You know, and sometimes, honestly, it's more geeky people. So sometimes the information in terms of technology is probably pretty accurate because these are geeks who don't want to be on Facebook and, you know, Instagram and all the other ones. And so they're hanging out in a place where they can talk to like-minded people, which would be geeks and nerds. So kind of my tribe, but they're all young, so I would feel creepy hanging out there all the time. So there's a Reddit answer. So we're going to look at that. Back into, I'm in Ecosia, and there is Reddit. Is there a real way to shut off the Google AI overview? So we're going to click on Reddit. And so you can see, you know, it's a pretty simple page. It doesn't have a lot of stuff going on, not a lot of visual. There's not a lot of filters, so Reddit's kind of the wild, wild west in terms of language. So I don't know what we're getting into here, but we're just gonna jump in. So somebody posts a question, and then we have the answers. And like I said, no language filter, so pardon the swearing, but and there you go. They're saying, it's terrible, and here's a way you could do it, and try this and try that. So there are answers there. I'm sorry. And this is probably why the young people like it. Specific N says, thank you, it works for me. I had to censor the swear words. This one's for Martin. For my basic searches for years because I'm from New Jersey and I'm constantly enraged. This is this is what I never wanted, AI. This is a great day.
Right.
I'm sorry, that was just good. Anyway, so when you're looking at whatever kind of answers you get, weigh in who's giving you that answer, right? So with that, it's like, okay, but there were good answers there. So I would say I might dip into Reddit. I just really didn't want to get a whole lot more going on. But going back to, can you get rid of it? There's an article that I'm going to send you that, let's see, I don't want to be in a cozy. I'm going to go here. And this article is a little bit depressing. This from the New York Times, Brian Chen, who is their tech expert, giving you personalized internet, but you have no say in it. So I highly recommend you read that article. It bounces a lot on what we talked about last week as well, in terms of the impacts of AI and how it is going to be very detrimental for our water supplies. But it doesn't go far into that. What it talks about is our choices about it. Brian doesn't give a lot of solutions, but it does give some interesting information based on, do people want this or not? Was it Pew Research? Pew Research did a survey last year. 90% of the respondents did not want AI incursion. 90%. So that's telling, right?
Yeah.
Let me just finish my thought, Linda. Can you remember yours? Okay. So, okay, so we don't want it. What's the benefit? And Chen goes into talking about how are the companies profiting from this? Because it's enormously expensive to do AI. Any of the, whether it's Pilot, Microsoft Pilot, or ChatGPT or Gemini, they're very expensive to actually produce, run, and maintain. And so what's the pay? The payoff is, and I learned this from Brian, that they will be customizing your ads. Now we go, oh, they already do that. You do a search. We talked about this years ago. You do a search for, white 3-inch heel shoes, and you're gonna, all of a sudden tomorrow you'll turn on your computer and you're gonna start seeing ads for shoes, and it's gonna start bombarding you. That was cookies. Right? So when we went to that process of let's turn off our cookies, that was cookies. That was not AI. We've always had that ability for the internet to track us because we leave breadcrumbs. And then, what was it, 5 years ago, where Europe said, stop, you can't do this in Europe. And so then the US had to kind of play catch up and go, all right, we'll ask their permission if we can track them. And so, and remember, then you started getting those things. Do you want this cookie, that cookie? Do you want, your cookie settings and preference? And there are still some sites that don't allow you to turn them off, but most of them do. and usually those seem to be like government sites where you're trying to accomplish something. I can remember applying for jobs and certain, if I was doing a job application within a government entity, I couldn't turn off any tracking. It was you take it or leave it. But for the most part, everybody says, you want cookies or not. We also have better blockers that we can use, ad blockers and antivirusware that does blocking as well. But the results that we were getting, the white shoes, for instance, were because we left little breadcrumbs. I went to this website and looked at something, and then I priced it over here and looked at the same thing, and then priced it over here, and I literally left little breadcrumbs laying on the internet highway, and then the sweeper comes and scoops them up and goes, "Oh, okay. I, as a shoe manufacturer or a shoe distributor, pay a certain amount of money to Google to gather data on users. This is a business." So they gather the data, your cookie crumbs, and they go, okay, Medina Roy is shopping for 3-inch white heel shoes. And so, let's send her those. So seemed a little creepy at first, personalized ads. Well, now the reason why AI, they don't really care how much it costs, because now not only are they gathering that, but they are able to gather information like any kind of health condition you might have. If you're searching through AI and you're searching for bunions, bunion surgery, bunion medication, but whatever, I don't know what would go entail with that, but you would look up bunions and you would start getting stuff. Now, if you've done it in AI, all of that information is collected on you specifically. And it says, okay, so this person, we're going to tailor ads on whatever they're looking at on the internet, whether it's social media or just regular browsing. We're going to tailor whatever gets in front of them to focus on this interest that we have, because we're so useful to make sure that we're putting things in front of them that they really care about. No, it's to make money off of us. And to be able to sell our information. Once again, if you're searching for bunions and it gets collected and it can be sold to, a, a medical supply house, anything that would have to do with healthcare in the medical field, then you're going to get it. This was my Medicare birthday, my Club Med birthday in December. And so I'm still getting stuff about what insurance company I should choose. I'm like, I already chose, guys. Get off my back. But it's still coming in massive waves, both in mail and other. I got a letter yesterday for a deal on hearing aids. I'm like, I'm 65. Why do you automatically assume I need hearing aids? I might. There's nothing wrong with hearing aids, but I turned 65 and they're like, now she needs hearing aids. Medina.
Just quickly, my husband, on the day of his 50th birthday, he got a letter from what's this crematory society on his 50th birthday.
Wow. That's kind of not fun. So anyway, AI, it is big business. It costs a lot of money to do business, but the big business is all of our data. So now, honestly, after reading that article from Brian Chan, I have a slightly different view about this. And I'm a little bit angrier because of that research that said 90% of people don't want this and we don't have a choice. Now, Brian goes on to say that yes, we have some choice, but they make it difficult for us to get out of it, to opt out. So we're going to go to, yes, Linda, go ahead. It's your question time.
Just I understand what you're saying, but as a general user, which most of us are, you're already used to Alexa knowing everything that's going on and Google knowing everything that's going on. and Siri knowing everything that's going on, what difference is it to us whether it's AI?
That's a really good question. That's a really good question. I think that when so if we look at it not from a personal perspective, but from a corporate perspective, if we look at companies are suing tech companies because they are literally stealing their intellectual property. So as an example, again, going back to this article, there are two companies that are suing ChatGPT, I think. And I don't retain the details. I retain the overall. That's why I send you the article so you can get to the details. So don't quote me on this, but New York Times and someone else is suing Google and ChatGPT, I believe, because what AI programs do is they mine data, right? They just gather all of the data and then they figure out how to use it in a way that makes them money. They're taking intellectual property and gaining off of it without paying anything for it. Okay, so if I write a book and I publish that book, and then someone takes that book, photocopies all the pages and puts their name on it instead of mine, they've just stole my intellectual property, right? And we would probably be upset about that. Same thing for an artist or, anyone who creates things. A book is an easy example. And so if somebody does that and says, yeah, this is my book. No, it's my book. I wrote the book and you just stole the book from me. You just stole my intellectual property and you're benefiting off of something I created. So from a corporate standpoint, that is stealing, right? That's theft. So in the same way, with the stuff that is every detail about us, when it's being used for profit versus just being used. And it's a very fine line distinction. Yes, when we go on the web and don't do an AI search, I'm going to go there next. When we just go on the web, yeah, there's tons of stuff out there, and it was gained, for lack of a better comparison, honestly, if I post pictures of my family on Facebook, or I post a poem that I wrote, and Facebook is easy because it's something we're all familiar with. I post a poem that I've written or something like that, then I have put it out there for the world to see, to read, to share, to have, right? I've put it out there. I knowingly put it in a place where other people can access it. Now, if I had all of my controls tightened down on Facebook and had only a private group, I might have a private group just for my tech friends and who like poetry. And I write this poem and I put it on the Facebook that is just for them. If that poem shows up somewhere else, if Meta takes that poem and puts it somewhere else, then they've literally stolen it because I had it in a privacy protected group. They have access to it. Trust me, that they have. Meta company that does that platform does have access to it. But the understanding and the agreement is that in a private space, this is private information. And so when we're not publicly saying, yes, you can have all my medical records, as an example. HIPAA. We have all these HIPAA rules that we have to sign all this paperwork every time we go see a doctor that says this information will be shared with this, and this. It's going to be shared with your insurance company. It's going to be shared with Medicare. It's going to be shared with your doctor. It's going to be shared with other providers. They're not saying it's going to be shared with advertisers for foot creams, right? That's kind of the difference. When AI grabs it all because you did a search, you wanted some information and you said, what's the best foot cream for bunions? And now all of a sudden that information is public information. And I'm using bunions because nobody's embarrassed about bunions, but if I talked about private parts right now, people would be like, no, I don't want that information out there. There are medical questions we don't want shared with the rest of the world. We would not want it on the front of the Keys Press, right? Or the Coconut Telegraph. There are things we would not want up there. You know, Betsy Based has, or Betsy's whatever, we would be like, no, what? You know? And even private things like, you know, if somebody has, you know, cancer and doesn't want that to be public knowledge, you know? Somebody's pregnant. Yes, that's a joyous moment, but sometimes because of a past history with pregnancies, people don't want to share that information until it's solid, you know, until you know that you're out of that danger zone of losing the pregnancy, because you don't want to deal with all of the attention you're going to get when it was a private, personal thing, right? So does that make a little more sense, Linda? Siri isn't telling the world, and she woke up. Good morning. She's not telling the world your business, but AI is. Is that information collected and stored and accessible? Yes, it is 100%. And you are not wrong about that, that it absolutely is out there somewhere. And if we did something bad and you know, subpoenas were written to find this information that you did that was wrong, then yeah, that information is going to be out there. But simple things like, I don't want my pregnancy known until I choose to let that be known, is a whole different thing, a whole different conversation. Delcy?
Yes, um, I understand because I value my privacy as well as everybody else. But then you hear that we as seniors are encouraged to learn about AI. And then, you know, on the other hand, I don't want anything to do with it. I feel like it's invading my privacy. You know, when I open up an email and it's already um, summarized everything that I've
Mhm.
talked to. But
Mhm.
then on the other hand, it's dangerous because I can post a picture and they can steal that picture and put me in a variety of different situations that, you know, I have absolutely no clue or no idea, or could take my grandchild and put it into, you know, something that's dirty or, you know, so what do we do? I mean, you can use ChatGPT to you know, the useful things like to find me a flight, find me a vacation or something like that. But then on the other hand, I don't want to tell you too much because then you're going to let the
Right.
world know where I'm going or what I'm doing. Okay,
Exactly.
I'm done, so you can finish.
Exactly. So, Delcy, that's a lot like, you know, when we went on vacation, um, my husband has broken this rule many times, but I have a pretty strict rule. I don't post any pictures of my vacation till I'm home,
Come back.
because I don't want somebody to see I'm in the Caribbean, you know? I that's nobody's business. And I have, you know, my social media is friends only, unless I specifically make a post public so it can be shared. Adopt a puppy. But you know, that doesn't mean that that information isn't still out there. So, you know, we all know how easy it is to get into Facebook. So I'm going to answer that. Terry, is it a question or a comment? Because if it's a comment, I'm going to hold you for a second.
Go ahead.
Okay, so I can finish Delcy's question. So that is true. I personally, and Delcy, I think that what our job is as seniors is awareness and education and knowing, you know, what are the implications and then making informed choices. As with anything, you know, it's like if you just blindly start using ChatGPT for everything because you think it's just this wonderful thing and it's so helpful, and you have no idea that it can take your information, get to your grandchild, post bad things about your grandchild hold you for not literal ransom, like they don't actually have your grandchild, but there are plenty of instances where people have been held for virtual ransom, where, and people pay this money. And if we're not aware that, okay, somebody could call and say, I have your grandchild,
Yep.
and
Good
I
point.
want a ransom. And then you say, let me talk to my grandchild. And you hear their voice
Yep.
because two things. AI is so good at copying. They can take one snippet of voice. So if your grandchild posted a video, there's all kinds of voice stamp there. And so they can just take that, they can re-scramble it and say, Grandma, please pay the ransom. They're hurting me. In a heartbeat, you would do it. You wouldn't
Yep.
even think about it. And yet, one of the things in that kind of instance that we want to make sure that we do with our family is have the conversation. You're not going to look like the crazy person. Trust me, you're going to look like the smart person in the room when you say, okay, because AI is so good and because voice printing is so good, um, let's have an agreement that, if something goes wrong, that we're going to have a code word or something, right? And this is a in person. I wouldn't have this conversation over text. I wouldn't have this conversation even on, I would make a phone call. I would have a phone call. I would not do it on FaceTime. I would just make a straight old-fashioned phone call and say, okay, my code word is muskrat, And so if that voice does not say muskrat, then it's fake. And then you need to know the steps to take in terms of, you know, first thing I'm going to do if there's a sense of urgency, if it must happen now. And God help us, please, if anybody ever asks you for payment in gift cards or Bitcoin,
Yep.
call your grandson first. Actually call your grandson's phone number or call your son or daughter, and say, "Where is John right now?" Well, they're sitting right here, having dinner with me. Okay, good. The hell with this fake ransom stuff. So know that there are things you can do, and it is always the first thing is to take a breath and take a step back, because people have paid these things, and I've read countless stories of people who this happened to. I don't know anyone personally, but stories where this has happened to them. They've reported, and the report is coming out because they're working with the FBI or their local authorities because this happened. And the advice is always take a step back and take a breath, because an emotional hook is the start and urgency is the other start. Those are those two things that go, you must act now. Kathy.
Well, I know someone personally.
Okay.
But 19 years ago, I don't know if you remember, about 19 years ago, they were making calls, but you went to, this is my dad, who was a fighter pilot. We're talking super intelligent, very, very smart. And he got the call, "Hey, Grandpa." And so it sounded like my son. And so he did not call him. He went up to Walmart. I mean, he's passed away 10 years ago. So this is 19 years ago. Went up to Walmart, gave the cash or however he did it. And then he was mad because he's thinking, why? And Jim was supposed to be in Canada, and he bought in. So I'm just telling you, this is an easy, be very, very vigilant. We were shocked. He goes, I'm 73 years old and I've never been scammed, and I got scammed now. And he was mad at my grandson. And so it was just one of those things, you'd never believe it. So I told everybody I knew, listen, this happens. And then when they found out it was my dad, they were like, your dad? Because he's suspicious of everyone. So I'm
Sure.
just, yeah. So
Sure.
I know personally.
Actually, when you say that, my nephew got a call.
Mhm.
Somebody had said, called him and said that he had missed a court date. He
there,
never had a court date. He didn't have anything to do with the judicial system. And my nephew is young and tech savvy and, you know,
right.
never should have fell through that for this and almost, but didn't
Hmm.
pay. They told them they were going to meet them in the parking lot of the police station, which is
Hmm.
interesting because it's
Yeah.
like, well, that takes a lot of chutzpah to
Hmm.
actually go right there. And he went to the
Hmm.
parking lot, and then he was in the parking lot, and he thought about it, and he went, "This is not real," and
Hmm.
and so left.
Hmm.
Um, but because he had no court date, he had no infractions, nothing had happened to generate this. But being that he's young and being able
Hmm.
to scrub enough information off of what's his life, they were able to make him think, did I actually miss something? Linda.
I got a telephone call. This is many, many years ago before we were into all of the computer things. And I got a call saying that they were holding my husband for ransom. And I hung up the phone and I called my husband at work, got him on the phone, he was fine, and that was the end of that. I suspected I knew who it was, and so I just let it go and I never followed up. But yeah, that's a long time ago.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So, and it's easier now. It's
Hmm.
interesting that those two stories are a long time ago, and it's even easier now. So, going back to Delsey's question about, being vigilant, paying attention, and just knowing. So AI, there are many, many, many benefits to AI, and as with anything, benefits to things can be misused and will be misused um, because there's money at hand. So when we've got, it goes back to the analogy of I have some really lovely, very sharp, wonderful knives in my kitchen drawer. And those knives are beautiful tools for cooking, and they're a joy to use. And they can also be used to create harm, you know? Every time I get a new knife, I have a conversation with that knife and go, please do not cut my finger because inevitably I am going to cut myself. No matter how well I know how to use knives, I'm going to cut myself with that knife. So, tools can be either way, and the knowledge of how to use that tool is what protects us. So, Delsey, I'm gonna make sure that you get last week's email because it was let me just write your name, email last week. There was a lot of information about AI, particularly about what the dangers of what it's doing to our water supply. It's really, really scary what's happening environmentally, and it's a problem. Um, and I have a friend who sent me in the last 2 weeks, they've sent me like three. I asked him a question and he sent me an AI answer. And I'm like,
Whoa.
I could have done that. I too have the ability to search using AI. I didn't need that. I wanted a human answer. And so I said, may I send you the links to my last week's class so you can learn about AI? And he goes, sure. I said, okay. So, I sent it to him and we're going to talk about it today. But when we look, I'm going to I'm going to go to sharing because we've taken a long time on just this aspect of the conversation. Um, and I want to quickly
I
get
have a
to
walk.
a couple of other things. So, um, when we are here, turn off AI, I'm gonna tell you to go ahead and just do this search. I don't normally send you a link to a search because you can search just as well as I can. So I'm just do a search and say turn off AI. You're going to land on this page and it's going to tell you all of this stuff and you can watch the video if you want and look at some more things about it. So Consumer Reports, if anybody has a subscription to Consumer Reports, I would love to hear what this is about, because does anybody have one? Consumer Reports? It's not free, and so you can't get, oh, that's funny. I put my hand up and Zoom put my hand up for me.
Andrew, Andrew said he did.
Who?
Yeah,
Oh,
I
you
have
do?
it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Would you read that article for us? And not now, but if you just do a search for turn off AI, and it'll give you that.
Turn
And
off
Consumer
AI.
Reports has a whole article on how to turn off AI tools. And I'd pay for that information, but I'm not going to pay a year subscription. So just let us know. Fill us in on that if you don't mind next week.
Okay.
So one of the things I wanted to point out while we happen to be on this search page, and right here, I'm on all, which means it's going to only give me everything, including AI. What if I go here to AI mode? When I go to AI mode, it's just in AI mode, and it's going to give me AI answers, right? Which I don't know why that would be beneficial compared to all, because when I go do a Google search, it gives me the AI overview already. So I'm not sure why I'd just do AI mode. Notice that it doesn't give me a web selection. So I want to look and see. There it is, buried down here. Can you see this little pop-up when I went to the menu?
Yes.
Web.
If I just go to web, there's no AI.
There's consumers reports right there.
We can hear you. So I'm going to do that again. I'm going to go back. It comes up, there's my AI mode. If I go to all, then I'm getting all of the options. I literally have to go to more to find down here buried web results only. So just point out, remember whose question that was, but somebody had asked, what if, can we just search the web? You can just search the web. Old-fashioned tool of people put stuff up and you get to look at it. That's what the web is. Companies put up their websites. Companies pay a web hosting company to host their website, and companies put their information out there on purpose. AI is a giant sweeper that scrubs without asking or paying every information that they can get. So, for instance, the Consumer Reports article, which costs, should not be accessible to me. AI should not have that information because Consumer Reports wants a subscription to look at it, right? So if I don't have a subscription, then AI has no business giving it to me. I want it, but there's a cost for it. It's how Consumer Reports stays in business. Same thing with, for instance, New York Times. The article that I'm sending you today about that is a gift article. So that means you can read it. You can read the whole thing. If I didn't send the GIF article and just sent the link, it would say, you don't have access to that. So you can't look at it unless you had a New York Times subscription. So that's the difference between, AI making money off of things that it shouldn't, because it's literally stealing information. All right, let's go moving along. Let's see, make sure I get in the right one. It's this one. Now that I've got a couple of pages open. Okay, so very quickly, I want to talk about extensions. I've talked about extensions in the past. I am not a fan of extensions. What are extensions? They're like little mini programs that you add on. I can think of Grammarly is one that I used for a brief amount of time because it seemed to do a nice job with doing grammar. And then realized that, boy, this is just getting annoying because it's not very smart. Grammarly only wanted to correct everything I had to say, and so not useful, so I took it off. But now, thanks to Malwarebytes, there is fake extension crashes browsers to trick users into infecting themselves. So I am going to share this one with you. I'm not going to read it for you, but this is how to stay safe with extensions. This particular one is no longer available in the web store, but here's some tips for future adding on to things, putting extensions on your browsers. So that's one I wanted to make sure you had. This is another one that I know several people in the group use WhatsApp, myself included. WhatsApp bug lets malicious media files spread through group chats. So if you're in a group chat, you've got a family chat going on or a club that you're working with. So here's a whole thing about turn off auto downloaded media. Ah, yes, yes. So that's really funny because I belong to a volunteer group at the local animal shelter. And when I look at a picture or a video that they put in WhatsApp, it automatically comes up in my Google Photos gallery. So there's the how-to to turn that off. And it just started happening, right? Wasn't happening. Now all of a sudden it's in there because WhatsApp changed and WhatsApp is now going directly in. So I've got to go in and I've got to turn it off. With many of these things, it's forced upon us. We have to take the action to actually turn it off and stop it from happening. You think that WhatsApp is a secure platform, and you think that it's of itself, that it's not going to be bleeding into your other apps. And they changed it, so now it is. So you have to go in and stop that from happening. So that article will be useful if you're a WhatsApp user. Now, on the light side of things, I am going to be sending you this document. So you will have an attachment in your email this week. And the attachment is keyboard shortcuts. I love keyboard shortcuts. The top one is for PCs, Windows. The bottom one is for Mac. You may already know these, but I've been spending a lot of time helping people with some programs this week, and I thought we were going to be about learning programs, and I realized, and yes, they're all our age, was there any younger? No, there wasn't any younger this week. They're all our age. And watching them use a computer was literally painful for me because it was so awkward and clumsy. And these are people who use computers, but they've never learned how to do things more efficiently or faster. So how many people love and are dedicated to their mouse? Go ahead, raise your hand. Okay.
I don't have one.
Oh, yeah, see, me neither. So, I don't have one because using the keyboard is more efficient and faster. It just is. Trust me, because I watched these people and it was painful. They were filling out a form on how to get onto an email list. And for instance, somebody who loves their mouse, tell me if you had a form and it's just fill in the blocks, how would you get from one block to the next? Somebody who loves their mouse.
You just scroll down, scroll with the mouse.
Okay. Anybody else? Kathy, did you have your hand up?
Well, I used to. There's like a little ball in the middle, and you just move that.
Okay.
So you had the clickers on both sides, and in the middle was a place
Yep.
so you could move it down.
Yeah. Okay. Anybody who's not addicted to their mouse? Oh, go ahead, Terry.
But touch screen now, you could add that to the almost
Touch
all
screen.
computer, laptops are all a touch screen also.
Touch screen.
That
Yeah.
can get you really easy to do that.
Yeah. And anybody else who wouldn't do any of those methods so far? Amy.
I love my mouse. There's going to be trouble if you try to take it.
I'm not going to try and take it because it has its purpose.
I'm
So
with
my-
Amy. I'm with Amy.
Thank you, calendar girl. Paper
My mouse is a
calendar and
little
mouses.
rectangle on my keyboard. My mouse is a rectangle on my keyboard. I don't have an external mouse. So yes, I do use that for navigation, but would anybody do anything different? Joyce,
Tab.
thank you.
But I don't understand that. What is that?
You hit the tab button, it automatically goes to the next box.
Mhm.
I see with my
Oh.
stepmom who has visual problems, and it is painful watching her try to get the little tiny arrow that she can barely see onto something.
Mhm.
Amen. Thank you. Thank you. And it is an accessibility issue. So if you have great eyesight and you don't have a problem using your stuff right now, perfect time to start training yourself alternative methods. Go ahead, Carlene, and then I'll finish.
So basically, when I have to do something on my husband's Chromebook, he just has the pad, but I don't know how to right click on that. So is there a keyboard shortcut for a right click to get the menu for that menu, you know?
Yeah, you would ask me that because it's been a while since I've used the pad on my Chromebook. On my
Okay,
computer, it is the right-hand side of my computer.
Okay.
And so that very thing came up. Somebody that I was training to do something, kept using that pad that's on my keyboard as if it were all one thing. And on my computers, on laptops, Chromebook, I can't swear because I want to say Chromebook might be a little bit different, but I'll look and I'll let you know.
Okay.
But on my laptop, the right-hand side is my right click. Left-hand side is my left click. So it is set up just like a mouse in that it's
Okay.
got a right and left click on this pad down here. And so that accesses those things. Because of course, right click pulls up different things on a PC versus the left click. Left click is really just a pointer. Click here, I want you to open this, I want you to do that. But that being said, with these, go back to the share so we can look at this little list here. These specific things. So if I'm filling out a form, I am going to tab from one box to the next because I don't have to have a steady hand. If you have any, if not you, but if someone you know has a little bit of a tremor or a little bit of a shake, it's going to move you out of that little tiny box where your cursor has to be. And I literally, when I was working with this woman on Monday, had to keep telling her, you're not in the box, you're not in the box. And so, you have to be in the box to do something, right? Or I'll say, click off, meaning click somewhere that's not on a thing, because I'd say, no, you need to get out of that, just click off. And they would click on something and it would open something else up and they'd get very frustrated and they'd get very angry and they get like, done with it. And I'm like, you have to click on white space where there's nothing, where there's no code, nothing for you to direct attention to actually stop and see what you're doing. So these here, this is another situation. Control C. So this is again for Windows PC. Things like you want to copy something to the clipboard. You want to cut it. Select Control X cuts it. Control V pastes it. So you've got these buttons, Control, and then these. Now I have a new one, which I'm going to add right now, which is Control plus Shift plus V. And what that one does is it eliminates all what's the word? Oh, for gosh sakes. The oh, I can see the formatting on a text. So if you are okay, yay, we saved that one. All right, I'm gonna do a real quick demonstration because we are literally out of time right now. Whoops. We're going to create a new document, and I'm going to go to a website and turn off auto download media. So I don't know if you can see the new page I went to.
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to Control C. All right. So I selected it with my finger on the mouse. So I had to actually use the mouse to collect this stuff. But then I hit Control C. Rather than doing a drop down, finding my copy and all of that, I just did Control C. Now I'm going to go to my untitled document, and I'm going to just do Control V. And when I click into the document and I do Control V, it gives it exactly the way it showed up on the website, right?
Mhm.
Okay. Now, I don't want it that way. It's going to take up too much space. And oftentimes when you do it that way, you get the ads and all this other stuff. So I'm going to do a Control Z, which gets rid of everything. It just undoes what I did. Now I'm going to hit Control Shift and V. It does it in plain text. Now I can get a lot of information in one spot and not have any of the ads and any of the graphic things. So I just get the information. So that's Control Shift and V. The shift takes out the formatting. So we are 100% out of time. Martin,
Thank you for that. That's very useful.
Good. One quick thing, Terry. Because hang on, Terry, wait, because Martin always runs off. Martin, would you
Yes.
like us to dive deeper next week?
I think you've covered what I can handle. How's that?
Okay. All right.
Great.
Good. Terry.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
I found after using AI just a few times, I got kind of addicted to it. So I got off of it. Like I had to program myself to not use it for every little thing because I think it gave me better information than Google. I never thought those words would come out of my mouth. It specifically said, like what's next? What's the restaurant next to Paddle in Florida Keys? But my other thing about Joy is I'm very happy to give you the award, the only class that everybody completed the registration and for this year, and the only one out of 300 and something people that everyone.
Yay.
And you also, because it just takes a minute to, when you open the newsletter, which you should do, even if it looks like a lot of stuff in there, and you could see all the ways you can donate, including our 2 fundraisers, and they're both in the newsletter and on our website and on Facebook. And you can use a QR code if we need any lessons on that to buy them online or buy them down here or get someone to buy them for you. And one is a pasta dinner at like the Italian American Club by the Civic Club in Key Largo. And it's like just a fun spaghetti dinner night. And that's on the 22nd. And on the 28th, we're having a murder mystery. And it's really fun. I've never been, but every time I bring it up to somebody, they said they really loved it. And so again, go on any of our sites, which you all should, half a minute and just like something on Joy, even if you never go back to it again. But we need to have more of the people here, at Joy contributing. And but for the fundraisers or any kind of donations and for more information about a class or whatever, text me or call that number. It's really important. We always forget how much that our members need, how much we need the members as much as we want to fulfill your needs. So thank you.
There's an enormous structure that supports Joy. There's a lot behind the scenes that you have no idea how much goes into creating the Joy Center, making the Joy Center, expanding the Joy Center. And, as you know, I've watched it from sitting around Denise Downing's kitchen island to being this wonderful place that it is now. It's because people dedicated countless hours, dollars, energy, enthusiasm, creativity to actually make it happen. So yeah, there's a lot to it. Thank you, Terry.
Thank
Okay.
you, Betsy
On
and
a
Terry.
on a parting note, Betsy, you happen to be probably the youngest person in our class.
Probably.
And now that you're your age, though, you could call yourself you're an older adult, like on state and county rules.
Thank you, Betsy.
Thank
So-
you.
Thank
Have a good
you.
week, y'all.
Betsy,
Yeah.
don't leave. I
Yes.
want to talk to you.
Okay,
And share with
okay.
you my nightmare weekend in tech, because it's like, oh my gosh. So everybody, this is way above everybody, I think. So I had to download. I was DJing at Pirates Cove for Save the Peacocks, to relocate them. And I had to download Sonos, Sonos. Do you know about Sonos? It's
No.
an app for a speaker system. Anyway, so lady had to help me, and we set it up, and it worked. I got control the speakers, but then of course the night I go, I had to reauthorize, blah blah blah. It didn't recognize my passcode, and so I had to go to the website and change my Apple password again, because it was just a nightmare. But I finally got in. And so I've deleted that app, but it locked me out of my Apple Music account on my phone. So I go to teach last night at Pinecrest. And by the way, the fundraiser was successful. It was very good.
Good.
But I go to Pinecrest and I forgot my iPad and my music. So now I'm got, oh my gosh, I can't get my Apple Music on my phone. So, okay, well, I had to go to Copper Knob and access the YouTube music, but then I didn't have my dongle. So I borrowed a dongle. So bottom line is I was able, because of my tech savvy stuff, to work around Plan B for my music. And I had to have everybody sign in because I didn't have my sign-in sheet, blah, blah, blah. So it's like, I have almost 40 people in that class, and it's
Wow.
huge.
Wow.
So I have to use a microphone even. So that was another lesson. Anyway, so just...
So did you get back into Apple Music?
Okay, so I have since I went to, yes, I had to go to the web page for Apple Music to change my password again for I don't know. And I wrote it down, so it's, but like, oh my gosh, it was just, because Apple
Good
and
for you,
Android
though.
don't communicate. Oh my gosh, this
No.
is so annoying.
They hate each other.
Yes, they do.
But kudos to you to actually working through that. What a pain in the neck. Yeah. Good for you. Ah, did I lose you? She's gone. Bye, Andy and Renee.
Bye.
Bye, Betty.
Okay, I'm
Oh,
gone
there
now.
you are. Now I can hear you. You
Okay,
disappeared.
sorry. Okay,
okay.
bye. I got to go to